Enhancement-centered tech continues to integrate into our everyday life, breeding excitement for new developments as they serve as opportunities to advance the human experience. Wearable technology seems like the next baby step to our cyborg-centered, futuristic fantasies. But the question we must ask now, as with all tech innovations, does it come at a price? As the health tracker Oura Ring continues to grow in popularity, many are concerned that that cost may be privacy after their controversial announcement to partner with the US Department of Defense. Are we one step closer to a surveillance state, or is the media overreacting? Welcome to BS, a podcast where we take an in depth look at different scientific and social phenomena and innovations, whilst tying them back to broader societal perspectives and why you should care. We hope you enjoyed the episode. First of all, this isn't even like a question to start us off as much of an observation. But why are there so many Black people on the Oura Ring website? That has to be investigated.
I don't know, maybe the data was coming in and they weren't getting enough pull from the community. Like,
Right.
I don't know, trying to convince me to buy like a $350 ring, you're gonna have to put something behind that outside of it's gonna tell me my heart rate for real. Like,
You know what? Fair. On a similar note, I recently saw like ads that McDonald's was running from like the early 2000s, and they are just full of racial stereotypes. Like, why were they doing the lean with it, rock with it? And one of them, and somebody said like, "Hey, yo, cuz," or something like that. And I was like, "Hey."
and if I start talking about why they were doing that, y'all are gonna think I'm tinfoil hat for real. Like when I say the CIA
Undercover
was behind
CIA.
that.
Undercover CIA ops for real. But yeah, there's a lot of Black people on the website, especially on specific pages. I'm literally just like, seeing a lot of my people right now. How interesting. I don't know
Like
if it's the
real
marketing.
interesting for a Finnish based company. Like, all right, like
Shout out to the marketing team, I guess. But guys, I think with the intro, y'all are probably like, A, what's wrong with y'all? But B, we can clearly tell that it's about Oura Ring. We're very, very excited, but at the same time, there's been a lot of interesting press, negative press about the company that's been circulating ever since they announced their partnership with the Department of Defense. And so we thought that this would be a cool place to kind of talk about the technology of Oura Ring, especially as tech like that is becoming more and more used on a consumer level, but also kind of what does that mean for data privacy? So there's a lot to unpack here, but I think this will be a very interesting episode. And I don't know about you, Gold, but I liked doing research for this one a lot. I don't know. I felt like there were multiple layers to peel back from the onion. So yeah.
there was an interesting amount of lore about all three components, like Oring, Palantir, the Department of Defense. Just like low key, just interesting vibes all around. Like there were so many things that I was just like, we're gonna have to leave this out because of time, but like what a crazy tidbit about the people running these companies and the way these companies operate. But
No, heavy on we're gonna have to leave things out because of time, for real, for real. But honestly, I'm excited to talk to. I love to talk to Gold about things because not only are we very similar people, but I just love to go back and forth and hear her perspective on things. Because sometimes I already have specific worries or ideas in my head, and then not only does she validate them, she'll add in something new that I didn't even think about, and then we just go back and forth. And so hope the conversation between us is interesting because I promise you, like, we love having them just as much as we hope you guys love hearing them. But yeah, with that, I guess we could get into it. First, we'll talk about our guiding research questions. We always have them. The first guiding research question is, what is wearable tech and how does Aura fit into that? The second is, what are the parameters of Aura's deal with the Department of Defense and as well as similar deals in the market? And third, what does the future of consumer level data and privacy look like? I also do want to add a disclaimer here that I'm an engineer and Gold is a neuroscientist, a pre-med one. We're not necessarily as familiar with the legal framework of a lot of these things. We obviously like did our research, cross-referenced our sources, did as much as we could to kind of understand and relay it back to you guys in a digestible fashion. But we say all this to say we always plug our references and they're always in the description box. And we obviously always heavily encourage you guys to not only just take what we're saying, but go research it on your own and construct your own opinions about things. But especially since this is an episode that has more kind of like legal terminology associated with it, we really do want to emphasize like neither of us are experts. None of this is legal advice. Like, hey, like let me do the.
And
But yeah.
honestly, even on that note, on the science and like so this technology that we're talking about, we're talking decades into research on it. So even when we're explaining it, it just is gonna have to be broad to some certain extent unless you are genuinely like a physics major, like in order to keep it understandable for the general population.
So yeah, don't get mad at us. We tried our best, but we do understand what we're talking about, and we're definitely going to try to once again explain it in a way that multiple different people can understand it. But as always, if you want to learn more and read the references or our sources, they're linked in the description box. So with all of the disclaimers and funny jokes out of the way, let's actually get into it. So first question, what is wearable tech and how does Aura fit into that? So, wearable technology, exactly what it sounds like. It's any technology that is meant to be worn, usually with the intent of relaying relevant data to its users. So, this includes a lot of modern things like fitness trackers, smart watches, smart glasses, e textiles, which are their own kind of interesting thing, and other stuff along that vein. And so, a lot of popular examples that y'all have probably heard about include a Fitbit, an Apple Watch, even Meta's new AI glasses that have the ability, I think, to record and you're able to like ask questions and stuff like that. So there's a variety of these technologies, a lot of them still being developed, but a lot of them are already available to consumers. And they aim to do a variety of different things, but oftentimes the end goal is to kind of increase the quality and ease of life of the users, especially when we think about like biotech. Those devices are also usually narrowing in on the health of the user. And so, yeah, that's wearable technology in a nutshell. I will say, though, something I realized as we were doing the research is I didn't really see any neurotech ones. So, Gold, I wanted to ask you, do you know of any neuro-based wearables that are out on the market? I mean, it's obviously going to be more complicated, so I'm not surprised that there might not be any, but do you know of any, or did you guys learn about any?
Yeah, I mean, every time I used to do research on like neuro wearable technology, this one brand, Neurable, would pop up, and they're like these headphones that claim to do a lot of things, like EEG tracking and increasing focus. And I just think the issue with Neurable wearable tech is that they're trying to like make it good enough that people think it's actually useful without literally turning you into Cyborg from Teen Titans. And like, there's just not much gray area for that. Like, I think the next step when it comes to like neurotech enhancements are like surgical implantations. And trust me, the billionaires have already started investing in that if you already know anything about Neuralink. So.
I was about to say that's once again a whole other episode in its own right. Listen, but yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense, especially because when I think about being able to get accurate readings and like what parameters would they even be tracking? Because like when it comes to like sensors are pretty easy to operate. For example, in my engineering classes, like we had to work with sensors. You could buy packs of sensors off of Amazon for cheap and stuff like that. Same thing with like ECGs. Like taking an ECG is actually pretty easy. Like, so you just need to like strap it to the person and just like put the wires or the leads in the correct place. But yeah, I feel like with neuro it starts to, and then you have to like think about like hair and like all of these different things as well. So yeah.
Yeah, like even certain research like devices are not good for curly hair, not good for any like afro textured hair, and have reported inaccurate data. Talk less something that's going to be like sleek enough to like be on your person 24/7.
Hmm.
So in terms of like the Oura Ring, Apple Watch, da 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 da, like I remember one time my dad randomly asking me, "Do I want an Apple Watch?"
Hmm.
And I was just kind of like, "No." Like it's not even necessarily like I'm anti health tracking data. I think I'm a big statistics person, but I just don't think, maybe it's because I'm just like a frugal person. I was just like, I just never really got the hype or understood why it was all that important. Maybe I need to care more about my health. But do you use any of the Apple Watches, Fitbits, all of the good things, you know?
I don't, but I have heavily considered using them in the past. And actually, like in the past slash kind of now, although I haven't really thought about it as much, only because I like the step data. Like I think I like knowing how much I've walked in a day, sleep tracking, stuff like that. Like that is definitely very interesting to me. But yeah, I think the like main feature that I would have gotten one for was the walking. But here's the thing. At first, I was like, oh, Fitbit, because I would just be using it for exercise slash activity purposes. But low key, Fitbits and Apple Watches are starting to be around the same price range. So then to me, I was just kind of like, I might as well get the Apple Watch that already has the accelerometer, but can also do like text message and like I can listen to music and I can like they have like almost all of the iPhone apps on there. So I was just kind of like the Apple Watch Loki has a lot of different things going on. I think they also like now can like detect sleep apnea. Um, arrhythmias are something that I know have come out in like recent models as well. So like they just keep adding on more features to those. I mean, obviously as they do that, they get more expensive. But yeah, I was just kind of like, if a Fitbit is gonna cost me the same amount as the Apple Watch, I might as well get an Apple Watch. But I have neither. So I'll update you if I end up getting one of them.
Yeah, no, I feel like I'm real close to it because I love going on like my like health app on my phone and being like, "Ooh, it's like I hit 10,000 steps today." But I don't know. I think I was always like a skeptic as well, like, "Oh, these things can't be accurate, da 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 da," until like I actually did my research, and a lot of them are actually very accurate, especially Apple Watch and Oura Ring specifically. And for Aura's Tech, like they basically use three main sensors. Like one is a PPG sensor, and that is the one for tracking your heart rate, where they basically use like a semiconductor to see how your arteries are pulsing, and then they use that to reflect like your like cardiac activity. And then they have a body temperature sensor, which is not a new thing at all. But I think it was like the first time it was being used in a ring format. And this is like an NTC sensor, and it basically has like electrical resistance that reacts through temperature. So the electrical resistance is going to decrease as your temperature increases. And Aura claims that they are accurate up to like zero point 0.1 of a degree Celsius. So I was just like, okay, well, go off. Like that's pretty good. And then their third main like sensor is a 3D accelerometer, and it basically like detects change in acceleration. There's three different types of 3D accelerometers. Two of them just detect change in like acceleration, and those are more accurate, but one converts like pressure information into like change in acceleration. And basically, after they have that change in acceleration, they convert it into like electrical signaling, which is a very, very broad explanations about how like a 3D accelerometer actually works. And the way their ring is built is that they have this like titanium, like aerospace grade titanium, real nice stuff, but it does have um opening within it, which allows it to like touch your skin directly to get the biometrics such as heart rate variability, body temperature, sleep tracking, etc., etc.
Mhm. Yeah, they were actually Founded in Finland. Yes, they're a Finnish based company. And so their like whole thing, if you go on the website, first of all, it's so like minimalist, like goop, like just wellness centered already. So I already knew what type of timing they were on when I came on the website. But like their whole thing is supposed to be like Nordic based wellness principles and like designing a product that kind of encourages this well balanced, sustainable, healthy way of living, which makes sense, I guess, for the product that they're actually trying to market. But that was definitely interesting. As for the accuracy of the technology, no, like these things every year get better and better and better, which obviously makes sense as to why more people are adapting them into their kind of daily way of life, because it actually can kind of give you insights into your quality of life. There are actually multiple stories that came up when we were doing research that of people who were like wearing their Oura rings and were actually able to detect something was wrong with them before they actually went and got an official diagnosis. Like I know for one lady, I think she was a nurse practitioner, it didn't diagnose her with cancer, but it alerted her to the fact that something was wrong with her body, which is why she ended up even going into her doctor appointments and like looking for the root cause. And then there was another woman who also had something, I can't remember what specifically it was, but she also reported her Aura ring, kind of giving her essential information to alert her to the fact that something was wrong. So like cases like that are definitely very interesting, and I would definitely like to see how people are using it as well. Like, is it just more from a I want to know like how well I'm sleeping, or for people who potentially have chronic illnesses or something like that, are there metrics that can be integrated into technology like this that can be helpful to them? That's my take on it. I'm definitely very interested to see where it goes. Right now, as of now, like the stuff you can see, you get a sleep score and an activity score. So the sleep score is just based on how long I think you spend in each sleep stage, and different key signals that tell you how long it took you to fall asleep and kind of the timing of your sleep. And then the activity score is just the basic stuff. So steps, active calories, training frequency, et cetera, et cetera. They also provide your cardiovascular age, which I'm not sure how I feel about that. But to explain, cardiovascular age is an estimate of how your heart and your major arteries are aging in comparison to your actual age or your chronological age. I think they rank it basically if it's younger, the same, or older, and they consider that within like 5 year ranges. I personally don't know how I feel about cardiovascular or not. Okay, I'm not here to say that it isn't a thing, because it is. There's research and science behind it. As much as I don't know how helpful it is to the average person to discuss and talk about cardiovascular age, like unless
I
it's
don't
something
know. When I see things
about.
like that on things that are not like marketed towards like health professionals, it just reminds me of how like you're at the gym and it tells you how many calories you're burning. Not to say that the cardiovascular age they're giving is as inaccurate as the like gym stairmaster, as much as it's just kind of like, let me oversimplify this data in order to make it palatable to you so you can like understand like why this is even useful, or like why like this ring is a good thing and you should be literally spending an arm and a leg for it. Because when I tell you like the Oura Ring like fourth generation, which is like the current most updated one they're on, is starting at $350 and going all the way up to $500. Like these are iPhone 5C level prices. Okay, like
Hey,
I'm like, okay. Mm. Okay, that used to be rent back in the day, but all right, like I see that things have started to shift in society, and that's fine. That's fine. That's fine. I'll never own a house, and that's okay because I can have an Oura Ring.
own a house, whatever. Like it's cool. Cause I
But
mean,
like, do you see the Oura Ring though?
yeah, I'll have no problem eating egg salad every day if you can tell me my estimated
You
cardiovascular
can
age.
afford eggs,
You
right?
know
Okay.
what? Fair, fair, very much fair. Cause can
Like,
listen, but let's not get too off track, because if
it
I
doesn't
start,
even end there though, because like in classic like company fashion, they never want to just take your money once. Like Aura actually has an app that is connected to the ring, which of course costs $9.99 a month. Like, over $100 a year, where you can access like more features through that app. So in order for you to get like your full use out of like your ring that it already costs like a wisdom tooth extraction, like you would have to subscribe and consistently pay a Netflix subscription to like get all of the features.
What are the
And
features that you have to get more access to?
I know like some people were saying that like there was like cycle tracking and like things of the such. I was like, okay, yeah. There, I was just like, maybe I'm not fully understanding. I thought there were full free apps for that, but maybe it's because it's all in one area, and maybe there's like other like things in the app that are like enticing to people. I don't
Mhm.
know, like 100 plus more every single year just seems steep to me. And that's why I want to ask you, like, is it just me or like is everything becoming a subscription based model, like where you feel like you can no longer just like own something outright? Like, I don't know. I've just been feeling like that is something like a trend that I've been seeing a lot recently.
Yeah, I would say, and I say this because I think Aura literally released a statement about this, and then I've seen other consumer products like start off being like a one-time purchase and then becoming like a subscription. I still haven't updated my good notes, lol, because it ended up being a subscription-based model. I think a lot of companies' rationale for that is that with a subscription based model, it's continuous revenue that they don't have to worry about. And you get to cut a little bit from marketing and you get to cut a little bit from overhead costs because you know that you're going to be making a specific amount each year or each quarter because you have this number of consumers that are regularly returning versus like if it's a one-time purchase, you will consistently have to worry about bringing in new business and bringing in new consumers. Like, unless it's like a product that you are consistently rebuying, like paper towels, versus like Oura Ring, if you buy it once, like you will have that technology for however long it lasts. Which once again, this is like aerospace grade titanium. Like I'm sure it can hold its own for a while. And then after that, it's just gonna be consistently having to find new markets to break into versus like if it's a subscription based model, it's like, okay, well, I can charge X amount every month or every 2 weeks or whatever. And that way I know that I'm consistently getting this money. So I think this is good for me in my pockets? No, absolutely not. I do not enjoy it. But the rationale for these companies is that they want to know that there's a check behind that door every time rather than always having to worry about bringing in new customers. So,
I mean, I completely agree. I just hate that we're accepting it. Like, just reason number two, and we just getting started with the podcast of why I'm never going to own a house. But it's all right. It's all
lit.
right.
Hey, I can count them all on one hand. But yeah, Aura is having a lot of success with this model. Like it's actually working out quite well for them. Smart rings themselves have just been seeing an overall rise, with them skyrocketing up from 46 to 75% of fitness tracker revenue. And a lot of this drive is coming from younger generations. So we're thinking like younger millennials and Gen Z. Um, and Aura, particularly, I would say, is dominating. I think when anybody thinks of smart rings, they automatically think of Aura rings. But a lot of that has to do with the fact that, okay, the girls like to fight. Like, they very much shut down their competitors due to different claims of patent infringement. Like, there actually was a very much a recent case, I think, with Ultrahuman and RingCon that yes, they got cease and desist orders into the US on claims of patent infringement.
Yeah, and the thing that's so dicey about that is that one, that was their only like genuine competitors. Two,
Mhm.
or Ultrahuman and Ringcon were not offering like a subscription based model, so you could just buy your ring and be good with that as well, which was probably also not making them happy. And
Mhm.
three, a lot of people were like, one, y'all bought that patent and it's too broad. Like I think, and this is again me speaking very broadly, like the patent is just having like the metal ring with the space in it to put the sensors that touch directly to the skin, and like that is why Ultra Human and Ring Con got cease and desisted, and they're just like, that is just like a bit broad for a patent claim for like technology that's getting as popular as it is, which honestly
Gold.
kind of fair.
I will say though, Gold, like I've already told you about how like these patents, like especially as somebody who works in engineering and is like learning more and more about it, like these patents will be so general, like so small, little things that are barely being changed. And they will be submitted and they will actually win. And like you will have to change your design, like to actually respect the patents of other companies because instead of having I guess 3 screws on that one part, you should have 4, like or something like that. So like I mean it's not great, but I definitely am not surprised at all because patent law is so hyper specific and then you have to get into like limitations and then like people who are trying to establish market shares and domain and all of that stuff. So I'm not surprised at all.
Well, honestly, shutting down their main direct competitors is actually working pretty well for them because I'm just like, Aura has only really been around since like 2014 and they are having exponential growth. Okay. When I was listening to Katy Perry's new album 2014, I wasn't hearing nothing about no Aura Ring, nothing. And now, like, I'm walking around and I'm seeing people with them on. Like, it took them 11 years to sell like their first 2.5 million rings
Mm-hmm.
and 1 year to sell the next 2.5 million. And it's just giving like the statement people say with pop stars, like it takes multiple years to become an overnight star, and they're on like a chaperone run right now. Like they just blew up in the last
uh,
2 years.
this
And
is
they're already looking to
good
double
luck.
that. Like,
This is their good luck game.
no, for real. Like, no,
They're
for real.
Tony
Cause I'm just
Stark.
like, going from like less than 250 mil in like 2023 to over doubling that, making 500 mil in 2024, and they claim that they're going to do it again and are planning on grossing around 1 billion for 2025. And honestly, like, I believe it. The way I've been seeing them around, like, I very much believe it. Like, their company is valuated at like around 11 billion right now, which is just so crazy because I feel like it just crept up on me. Like sometimes I want to be a fly in the wall in like the Apple boardrooms because I know they're sweating. I know they're sweating, and them tech, like them engineers, they not going home tonight. They not getting that lunch. They're gonna have to earn that lunch.
Really, I think the one they need to watch out for is Mark Zuckerberg because he has a known history of poaching tech talent from top firms. Like that man is known for that. So really, I
I
really think
mean, Meta will steal anything. They don't care. They don't. There's no shame in their game. Like, have y'all seen Instagram? Instagram is everything, everywhere, all at once at this point. It's Snapchat. It's Facebook, which is literally also a better product. Like, it's TikTok. Like, it's whatever it needs to be at the moment. Like,
yeah. So they gotta keep their eye out for Selena. Like
and honestly, with all of this exponential growth in something like Oring, like I'm not gonna like lie, it was like a little bit surprising to me that people would like spend a lot of money on something that like tracks health data. But when I took a while to think about it, I just think it just goes back to like American culture in a sense where we're always like thinking of optimization, whether it be for time or anything else, of like trying to collect the most amount of data that we can, trying to be
Mhm.
the most efficient that we can. And I just wanted to know like what your thoughts were on that, especially considering like the group of people that it's growing with. Like that's our age, like Gen Z, like younger millennials.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely see your point. I think it makes sense that it's a Nordic-based company. I already think like when I think of those countries, like it's very wellness, clean cut. How do you improve your quality of life and optimize different even when you think to like the way these countries' governments are set up and like the way they view and think about health. And I think when you apply that though to an American framework and our kind of rise and grind culture, on top of the existing health anxieties people already have, mind you, especially coming off of the COVID pandemic, it can kind of be a recipe for disaster. Because something that I realized in doing research on this topic, I was like, I wonder how this impacts people who are already very anxious about their health. Like, I definitely know y'all are buying these Oura Rings, and I almost definitely know that y'all are over analyzing the data, especially as people who are not healthcare professionals. No shade. Like, I know y'all are probably reading into this more than it necessarily needs to be read into, or even are just like carrying this with you on, because it's a ring that's on all the time. I'm pretty sure you sleep with it. I saw a girl make a joke about how she has to take it off to drink alcohol because apparently, like, one of your scores immediately plummets to zero or something like that. Because, I mean, obviously now you've ingested alcohol in your system, and that's gonna impact all of your different bodily systems. But yeah, I think that that level of hypersurveillance of your own body is helpful in many ways, especially if, once again, improving your health and quality of life is something that's important to you and something that you want to get more day to day info on. But, like, I definitely think people have the capacity to take it a step too far and for it to feed into the anxiousness that a population already that's already very health anxious is. And I think that's also why we see the rise in wellness industries. And I think we've literally had a previous episode about the gut microbiome where we discussed this as well, where it's kind of like these companies are preying off the fact that they know you want to live a long, healthy life with the people that you love, and you're scared about how to do so. And so buy this product, or, take this supplement, or have this probiotic, or use this health app to track your cycle, and just all of these different things. So it's just like information overload on all fronts, and people are getting access to data that no shit sometimes isn't even that helpful. Once again, I'm gonna keep coming back to that cardiovascular age because I really don't think it's that helpful to the average person. But now, if you take somebody that's health anxious and their cardiovascular age reads as older than their chronological age, now that person is scared out their mind if they already are prone to anxiety because of that reading. Whole time they could go to their cardiologist and be just fine. You know what I'm saying? So I think it
Yeah.
really is give and take. Yeah.
Well, you took the words out of my mouth when it came to like it being a Nordic based country, because I think the US just looks at them with some sort of like fantastical lens over like what a perfect country would be like. And I just don't know how to hold y'all hands and tell you that you can't like force capitalism your way into a country that has a semi socialist healthcare structure. Like, you want to know why you think these people are so healthy and cute and good? It's not because they got an Oura Ring, babe. So like, even though I'm not even saying again like they're not helpful, but I'm just like they're giving you all of this health information that you're trying to like brute force like shake out of some product because you can't get it from a professional that you don't really know how to like analyze or fully what to do with.
No, literally. But yeah, yeah. I fear, like, cuz I was even thinking about myself, like, how would I use this product? Like, what do I think this would be like helpful for me for? And I know myself, and I think that I would take it to heart if my sleep score was bad. You know what I'm saying? I get offended even when Flo tells me my sleep was bad, cuz I'd be like, "Who the fuck are y'all?" Like, who do y'all think y'all are to tell me my sleep? And I'm just like, and I know that Aura's, once again, technology is far more accurate than a lot of these random like healthcare tracking apps. Like, they actually have multiple sensors and accelerometers like within their thing. So I think, I personally, yeah, the more I think about it, I don't know how good that would be for me, because yes, it would give me more insights, and I could probably tailor it to be like, okay, like, I need to get more steps in, or I need to do XYZ. But I could also see me taking it to a point of like feeling bad about myself because, like, oh, I'm not in the shape that I want to be in, or I'm not as fit as I want to be, or I'm not getting the sleep that I should, or my cardiovascular age isn't as good as it should be, and blah 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 blah. So
Ooh,
I
my
don't know. If
fitness
you
pal core.
Listen, if you are somebody that can get that info and that not impact you, power to you. Me personally, I'm an anxious person. Gold knows me. I'm such an anxious person. I freak out about everything. So I don't know if this is necessarily the technology for me. But with that, let's get into our second guided reading question, which is, what are the parameters of Aura's deal with the Department of Defense and similar deals in the market?
And here's the thing, like I think a lot of people are hearing things on social media and maybe making it out to be more than what it is. Like, the Department of Defense wants to use like Aura for tracking for people who are working in the military. One, just to clarify, the Department of Defense, as described by them, is the department that provides the military defenses to deter
As
war and ensure our nation's safety. Now, I know that like certain people have recently named it as the Department of War, which again is just like killing me. It just feels very oxymoronic because like deter war is y'all's like main mission statement, but it's all right. And basically, it's just like broadly the area of the government which all the military branches sit under, which is a bit self-explanatory from the name. Yeah.
yeah, that's like I'm just thinking of imagine if we just name all the departments something that's completely opposite to what they do. But
I was only just
right.
thinking, like, if y'all's whole thing is to, like, again, deter war unless necessary, that's just like naming the Department of Health the Department of Sickness. Like, oh, we gonna treat, like, we're gonna try to deter it and then treat it if it's necessary. Like, I was like, okay, I guess, like, at least change the mission statement or something, baby girl. Like, I didn't really get that fully, but that's me.
Like we're not services, we're sickness and deathly causes. Like, didn't you know?
Heavy on didn't you know? Were you not caught up?
like,
Like,
like when I heard Secretary of War for the first time, I thought I was the stupid one. I thought that I was the one that pay attention in APUS government. Like I thought it was me. Whole time it's y'all, but I'm not even gonna
just
get too deep into that.
reversing multiple
So,
years of propaganda as well. Like, I know the US was very specific by naming that the Department of Defense, even though we are the ones bullying everybody else. And here you come being like, nah, let's get rid of that. We don't need to do all that.
oh, I know. Definitely a CIA operative from the 50s who's literally having a meltdown like you've ruined all my precious work, but whatever. um, so the DOD wants to use Aura for, and these are the things that I'm pulling straight from them that they've outlined. So they said stress management and resilience training, fitness optimization with physical stress and focus recovery, fatigue risk management through scheduling optimization to prevent placing overexerted personnel in safety critical roles, and early illness detection to proactively alert individuals and command before illnesses spread. So, in general, they really just kind of want to establish more personalized training regimes at a unit level and also an individual level, as well as to be able to get more individual level data about how I guess the soldiers are actually holding up in whatever combat zone or like wherever they're deployed. Which to me already, even I know a lot of people's issue with this topic is specifically about consumer level data. Like, and don't get me wrong, like we're gonna get into that a little bit later and like all the complexities of that. But the thing is, I feel like I just don't know how I necessarily feel about them having such intense and so many data points about a group of people who are already kind of expected to conform. No shade, but like it's common knowledge that when you enter into the military or the army, like you're expected in some ways to kind of learn how to be subservient to the powers that be and fall in line. And I mean, when you think about the application to like combat, like you listen, one band, one sound, you need to be able to learn how to follow orders, listen to mission statements, etc., etc. But I think when you're already taking people who are trained to kind of just do what they're told by their commanders, and now like taking such intimate health data from them, I don't know, maybe like it's just me, I don't know, what do you think? Because to me that's a recipe for disaster. Or it makes me at least raise my eyebrow at that a little bit. But listen, that's their business, maybe, I don't know.
The thing is, like, and like, not to overgeneralize and oversimplify people who are in the US military. Like, please don't attack me about your great granddaddy and like what he did in Vietnam. All I'm saying is I think there's so much craziness in terms of the things you give up to be in the US military. Like, I can quit my job. You don't show up for your job, you might get arrested. Like, I think it's all just hidden behind the benefits that people don't even raise an eyebrow in terms of like
Mhm.
the rights you have as like literally a human being, and like what is and is not necessary to do your job or to like serve in the US military, to be quite honest. In fact, like a lot of the fear mongering is really coming from like the private sector. Like, what am I as a civilian going to have to deal with, instead of like what are they going to have to deal with as people who decided to join the military, who are now going to have to be like subjected to this technology? Like, I'm not really hearing any rah rah on that side, to be quite honest. All of the hysteria really started when like Aura like basically released a statement saying how honored they are going to be like the trustable wearable of choice for the US military, and how proud they are to like expand manufacturing in the United States. And of course, this sent social media into a frenzy again with everything going on with AI, all these other things that are like making people just worried and anxious in our country, period, but especially about technology. Like the CEO, Tom Hale, literally came out to say, like, hey, like military and consumer data is going to be completely separate. Like, that is our policy. And just like basically, we're not selling your data to the government, because that was like the main thing that I think was like the tinfoil hat going around at the moment. Obviously no one is gonna come out and say, hey, we're selling your data, just letting you know, like we selling it right now. But I mean, he is right, that is their policy. Obviously, like policies can change, and people aren't necessarily keen to when a company updates their privacy policy or their terms and conditions. I'm sure there's going to be a like more like intensive eye on Aura specifically now that they're partnering with the Department of Defense, because even US citizens don't really trust our military and our government and like what they say to be true. However, like that is their current stance.
Like that's the thing. I'm not going to go too much into detail on the legal framework of it all, but in short, to be quite clear, it is illegal for them to share any of your consumer data in a way that's not relevant to the services that they are providing you. Point blank. Period. Literally, I pulled this straight from the website. To comply with valid legal requirements, Aura will oppose any request to provide legal authorities with access to user data for surveillance or prosecution purposes, and we will notify users if we receive any such request whenever legally permissible. Meaning that if for any reason you get into a little bit of legal trouble, they also will decline to cooperate with the authorities unless they are subpoenaed in a way that they actually do have to provide that info under the law. And they also consider the fact that this is an European based company. So they are adhering to both EU and US data privacy laws, including the data privacy framework, which works for kind of transferring data connections from the US to the EU, or sorry, data privacy frameworks from the EU to the US. So I say all of this to say that, like, once again, a lot of the frenzy has been over whether or not the consumer level data is going to be aggregated and shared, sold off to the Department of Defense. As of now, these are two different programs, one for active service people and another for the consumer level products. They're separate, and also it's still illegal for them to sell the consumer level data, and that is the policy they have of current. If they end up changing that, like Gold already said, that is an entirely different thing in and of itself. But I mean, I definitely understand why people started to get whipped up, because people, you hear Department of Defense and you hear health data, and listen, there are eyebrows and questions to be raised, but as of
I was
now,
raised.
those are, listen, mine were raised too, but as of now, they're not selling off or sharing your data with the Department of Defense, which I know is the question a lot of people came into this episode wondering. As for Palantir, which is the always mysterious, always shadowy figure underlying all discussions when it comes to the US government, there's been like a lot of mystique and aura, pun fully intended. Go laugh.
Palantir
Hello?
got terrible aura. Like you could just see like the green line of stench coming from their buildings. I don't know. Like
Ways. But yeah, there's a lot of just kind of mystique that surrounds what Palantir actually does as a company. And I feel like for a lot of people, they couldn't really define what it does. So me and Gold had to go and figure that out. And listen, they are very, very behind closed doors about what they actually do and are constantly trying to obfuscate the point. But in general, Palantir itself is not a data company. It does not collect data, but rather it sells softwares primarily to government contractors and different consumer companies to connect, analyze, and transform different types of data. And also, yes, they do heavily work like in the government and defense industries, but they actually work across all industries like healthcare, energy, manufacturing, and financial services. So like they do public health work, they do a lot of different things. So there's also this misconception that like they're only doing defense work when you'd be surprised the amount of corporations that actually have Palantir as a contractor. So just to make that clear.
Yeah, and as y'all are probably wondering, what does this have to do with Aura? And it's basically a friend of a friend situation. Like the DOD has relationships with Palantir, the DOD now has relationships with Aura, so they at the very least have to play nice, but they're not necessarily like in cahoots with each other because Palantir has a software Fed starts IL5, and this is the hosting environment in which Aura is going to have to host their data in order to maintain their contract with the Department of Defense. And it's essentially a cloud-based software that has been accredited by the federal government, and it's eligible and eligible companies that work with the DoD can utilize this and like offer up their services through FedStarts IL5. So yeah, it's a very like friend of a friend situation, and or just kind of has to comply with working with them, not necessarily that they have their own like personal and private relationship.
Yeah. I will say though, Palantir has definitely been consolidating a lot of power within the federal government in general, which is what has even placed them in a position to be able to provide this kind of hosting environment. In part, a lot of this is due to the fact that one of its very notorious founders and the current chairman of the board, Peter Thiel, has very public ties to the current administration, which has obviously lent them some favor in terms of military contracts. Weirdly enough, as a side note, the CEO, Alex Karp, has backed both Biden and Harris in previous election cycles. And he's actually come out and commented that Thiel's kind of like public support of the current administration has actually made things kind of difficult for Palantir as a company in certain situations. And so it's interesting to see kind of even within the company how they don't even know necessarily sometimes what direction they want to head in or how they want to market themselves. And Alex Karp in general is a very interesting figure, and that man's mind is an enigma. But I'm not going to get into that today. But
No.
all both people, both of
Yeah, like
them.
there's just so many question marks that still come with this company. Like I feel like they're just moving like the Coca-Cola formula. Like two people need to know and they can't be on the same plane because even people who used to work at Palantir sound a bit hesitant to answer certain questions, and not even necessarily out of fear, because even when there was a Wired op-ed where they offered anonymity when questioned about like Palantir's direct competitors, a lot of their former employees weren't fully sure. Like, it's like not too many people are really allowed to know the like pound for pound details of everything that's going on, and like down to like who they're working with and the things and like who they're working against and competing against.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a lot of I think it's a very multifaceted company that, like, from my understanding, which speaking of, going on the Palantir website felt illegal. Oh my God, bro. Like, I was so scared. But,
Again,
anyways,
bad
I
aura.
listen. But yeah, like, it definitely seemed like, in general, they're trying to be this, like, optimization partner slash, like, just making people's life easier in general in terms of data processing, modeling, and, like, prediction algorithms. And they have, like, they have a lot of different platforms. They literally worked with city governments, which, first of all, whatever they had going on in New Orleans, I want to do a separate episode about that because some shady stuff was going on over there. So in general, there's just a lot going on with them, which I think is why it's really hard to narrow down like one specific niche of like what Palantir is and what they do. But irregardless, our government is giving them a lot of money to do whatever they do because in 2025 alone, they have been awarded $767.3 million in government contracts. And they've been awarded but anywhere between like 200 to 500 million per year in previous years. So they're getting a shit ton of money to do whatever they're doing. But obviously, like with having this conversation about the Department of Defense, once again, a lot of people's kind of outcry was potentially about this collaboration with the federal government. But I think it's important to note, just as an added layer to this conversation, and just for pure clarity for those listening, that a lot of different companies have collaborations with the government. That sadly is not something that is uncommon, brand new, or anything that I think is going to disappear anytime soon. Just to name some of the like heavy hitters on the scene that y'all will recognize: Apple, Microsoft, Meta, Honeywell, IBM, Accenture, Oracle, multiple different research institutions at different universities all have ties and provide products and services for government agencies. So this is not uncommon at all for the consumer industry. So I will say that if this is something that matters to you, like it's important to also do research into the other consumer products that you're engaging with, because a lot of the times they will have kind of unexpected ties to the Department of Defense that maybe you didn't think about. So
Yeah, I honestly think Palantir got such like a bad rep in comparison to other countries who are doing like the same type of like contract because of just the vibe that the company brings to the function, okay? Like when y'all have y'all CEO out here saying that our like software is sometimes used to help kill people or like going out and
I it was, I was like once again, Alex Carr, what an interesting man. Like, what a thing to say.
yeah, like that's the thing. Like, I feel like a lot of people view Palantir as this like military spyware type of company. So, like, it's like really not helping like how critical people are of it. I mean, I literally was like trying to find information myself, and I was like, "Ooh, it's a little spooky out here." I went on their website, and they had something called Palantir Gotham, which was like a defense operating system for the military. And I'm just like, that was like literally frying me so bad. I'm just like, the, there's just no PR to make me think that y'all are a good company. And maybe like that's part of the marketing, okay? We don't play. We don't fucking play. Like, and listen, it's working. It's definitely working.
Yeah, I definitely think part of the marketing is just like be scared of us, and it's working. Like it's there. Listen, if that was the goal that they had in the marketing rooms, let me tell them that they've been successful. All right, so third and final reading guided research question. So, what does the future of consumer level data and privacy look like? First of all, I want to start by asking Gold, guess which country actually has the strictest data privacy laws? It's a little bit
Like,
on a hint. It's on the same vein of some of the countries we were discussing earlier. So that should narrow it down a little.
listen, I was genuinely going to say the US or China. I just feel like when it comes to not playing about something, I was going to think it was going to be one of the two. Maybe that's a terrible guess. Like,
First of all, literally what? Now, the US and China are the two places you think have the strictest data privacy laws. With everything that you know about the US, girl, with everything that you know about the US and China. Like,
like
it's
I was
killing me
hoping
to
for a
even see.
gag. Like I was hoping for like guys, like don't worry, like killing the fear mongering, you would never guess. Like let a girl be a little optimistic, even if it's incorrect. Like
Well, it is incorrect. The country that has the strictest data privacy laws uh, is Iceland.
that
Iceland
makes sense. Like
established their, yeah, it makes sense that it's a Nordic country.
a country
Iceland
that actually
established
cares about their
their like little
citizens.
code. Listen, they established their code in 2000, I think. So that also makes it one of like the oldest frameworks, and Listen, the streets are saying it's strict. Okay, they don't play at all. It's very strict. It's been in effect since 2000, and I guess it's effective since it's still working all the way up until 2025. So, very interesting. But yeah, I know in this conversation, a lot of people's worries come from what their data it can be used for, and also the security of their data, especially because data breaches are becoming more and more common in a society where we're all so interconnected online. And I think that people have even more fears when it starts to become health data, which in itself is even more personal, and people are more protective over that kind of information and like what that can mean for them.
Yeah, and as much as I'm not trying to make this like an individual responsibility thing, I feel like a lot of the times in the US, like these companies are just pushing as far as we'll let them. And in one sense, like we already give up so much of our data. So I feel like sometimes we're desensitized to like what is and is not okay to do. Okay. We just see an update to the privacy policy. We are subscribed to so many things. We use so many things. We click it and we go. It's just overstimulating at that point. But like, I feel like we're gonna have to buck up as consumers and like maybe have some Oura Ring hysteria in order for companies to like stick by their word. Cause like I literally distinctly remember being in my ethics course and this kid wanting to do this. Like I guess there's like a little way you can download what Google knows about you. And he tried to download his own file and it literally could not download because the file was just like so big about how much information that Google has collected about you, or even something as simple as like Ring cameras. Like Ring cooperates with the US government, okay? And we have literally kind of helped create a mini surveillance state by having all of these like private cameras in areas that usually wouldn't have had that much surveillance, like a small business or a neighborhood. And it's just so normalized to us as consumers. And again, like I said, these companies are going to push as far as they can. And we're just at the point where we're kind of letting them.
Yeah, no, I definitely understand that. But at the same time, there also just becomes this thing of like, where does the law come into this? But also, where does the law come into this when we're already in like a federalist society? For example, earlier this year, a community health center in Connecticut actually had a massive data breach that affected over 1 million residents. And it was sensitive information like their social security numbers, their test results, their diagnoses, different treatment informations, and just more that was all basically like released into the ether. And that, once again, is becoming more and more common for of a scenario for Americans to think about, especially as we use like digital healthcare tools and wearable technologies and healthcare related apps. And another key thing to know about this is that a lot of these consumer products actually fall outside the domain of HIPAA. Like, first of all, people don't even necessarily know what HIPAA is a lot of the times, but this often applies to care providers like doctors and nurses, as well as healthcare systems and what do you call it? Insurance, like healthcare insurance providers. But past that, like if you put your health data out on an app and like you provided that of your own volition, like that is not covered under HIPAA. So if that app undergoes some sort of data breach, like there's no like legal framework to necessarily follow. Or if their policy is that, hey, I can keep this data for however long I want and you have no access to it and cannot request to delete it, like that's just their policy. It does not follow under HIPAA. And so there's definitely kind of this lack of understanding, I guess I would say, of like what health data can even be protected. And then on top of that, it's also incredibly valuable in a society where data is currency. For example, a piece by the Stanford Law Review said, our health data is as valuable as gold and yet as fragile as glass. And I feel like that rings especially true in this current era where the innovations are outpacing the legal framework that can actually mitigate and survey these types of things. Especially because in the United States, we have, I would say, one of the poor data privacy law. Like we don't have any federal data privacy law. There currently are 20 states that have comprehensive data privacy laws in place, but there are ranging levels of consumer protections, and having this fragmented state level approach has its drawback because okay, maybe the person in California has like the most comprehensive data privacy, but what about the person in Ohio, or what about a person in Kansas? Like there's so many different things to consider here that yeah, I don't know, Gold, what do you think?
First of all, anytime we try to do things that are just clearly like across state lines as a state basis, I'm just like, why? Like, when will y'all get over that? But beyond that, like, when it comes to data privacy in the US, like I said, I feel like the only people who have a good interest in protecting your data is you. Like, these companies, again, like, they know that it's valuable. It's something like your information, your attention, you as a whole are just a good product. And I think that we just really need to throw it back to like millennial level, like when they used to have computer labs to teach you about the new tech that's out right now. Like, I feel like there needs to be some kind of like comprehensive, like re-education, if not like first time education about what we're setting ourselves up for, like why we like, just again, reminder that you shouldn't trust the internet, like reminder that like not everything is a game. There's just like a very fragile state between fear mongering, tinfoil hat, like you don't know what's next, it's harming the defense, Palantir, ooh, it's all up in your Oura Ring, and like literally not knowing, not caring whatsoever, and like trying to find that good balance, which always comes with education.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think if there are any things that I want you guys to walk away from this episode with is A, understanding that if you do have an Aura ring, your data is not going anywhere, at least for now. But I think it's pertinent to keep track of Aura's policy and honestly any other health related data apps that you, and wearable technologies that you currently have. And also, if there's other sensitive data that you have out there that's not even necessarily health related, keep track of that as well. Because once again, in whatever history that you've had on the internet for the last 10, 15, 20 years, like those things stay. And a lot of the times that data still remains. There are ways to go back and kind of delete some of your digital histories. They usually do cost money, but if that's something that's very important to you, there are avenues for that as well. And when you do sign up for future services, just keep that in mind. Keep in mind what exactly you're sharing. Also, consider the state that you currently live in. Certain states have stricter data privacy laws than others. So I think reading up on what rights and protections you have as a civilian, and kind of like, do you have the right to tell a company that you want to delete your data, that you no longer want this data to be stored by them? If there was some sort of data breach, is there some sort of legal recourse that you can utilize in order to get that, to be compensated maybe, or to get that data scrubbed off of the internet? Like I said, neither Gold nor I are legal experts, as much as we just want to say that these are things that you should be aware of. Even if your data isn't necessarily being sold just off to any bidder, you should probably still want to keep track of those things. So yeah, that's how the Aura Ring works, and consumer level data and privacy is something that is going to continue to be a topic of conversation until the US specifically kind of has a legal framework that can adequately address all sectors of this problem. But we'll just be waiting, and maybe that'll be a future episode for us. But in the meantime, we're going to tell you a little bit about our bits of BS. Once again, everybody's favorite section where we go into funny slash annoying slash interesting slash mind boggling things that occurred to us when we were getting our undergraduate degrees. So, Gold, I'll let you go first.
Now mine, like it started off like it was not enemies to lovers, more so lovers to enemies. When I first got to Emory, I realized that we would have food trucks quite often and the food trucks would be free. And I used to be like, oh, sweet, nice. What a nice thing for like our school to do. But you know, literally, it just was reminding me of the saying, like, there ain't no such thing as free lunch. Like, I don't know. I feel like I paid with my pain, suffering, and labor for those food trucks. The lines would be obviously so incredibly long when I was in line for food truck because it was quite literally free. So I'm just over here in the Georgia sun waiting for who knows how long for a meal that is oftentimes mid, because I feel like Emery was only willing to pay a certain amount for the food truck to come and be like giving out like X amount of
LOL.
like meal tickets. So we oftentimes didn't even have like super popular, super name brand places. And again, like even when we did, like even when it was a place that was really good, the line just got even more impossible. Like so it was to the point where it's like I would pay $5 to skip this line. So I honestly would just wish they would have just priced the damn meal at $5 to take some people out the line. Like not trying to sound like Elon Musk level capitalist, but it really got to a point. It really got to a point because it's like I can't even get nothing quick from the like food truck because everybody got the same idea.
Not you live long enough, you become Adam Smith. Like, hey, like, bro, LOL. But I know, but I do feel you because food trucks at GT were paid. I mean, sometimes them lines where it's, but honestly, here's the thing: them lines would be insane and paid anyways. Them wait times were still trifling. So honestly, we got a lose lose oftentimes. But no, you
Yeah.
used to tell me about your yeah, listen, you used to tell me about your free food trucks, and I used to get jealous. But okay, you have to suffer a little bit for them, so I guess that makes me feel a little bit better. LOL. Okay, my bit of BS is. Sorry, I'm laughing before I can even get it out because it truly is diabolical, sick, and twisted on all accounts. And that is my physics 2 class. My physics 2 class was literally the bane of my existence. It made me question what I was doing in higher education, if I should even pursue being an engineer, and what is the point of life in general. Like, I was having all kinds of existential crises in that class, just because I think that was like the first class that I ever like actually for real struggled in. Like the first class where like I was studying, but I wasn't automatically getting good-ish grades or like on par average grades. And like I was actually failing them exams bad. So yeah, no, that class put me through the ringer. I will say that it did teach me perseverance. It did teach me to be more resourceful. I feel like I got to connect more with people at my school because a lot of the upperclassmen were reassuring me, like, hey, like, this is nothing to worry about. Like, you're not a bad student. Like, you're not a bad this or that. Like, you're just gonna learn and you're gonna get better, and like you have to be challenged. And so yeah, like I looking back, do I appreciate the fact that it forced me to confront failure and get more comfortable with that? Absolutely not. I think I've only grown as a person. But sophomore year, Ilyana, who was deep in the trenches of that class.
Physics was so like Boba Tea gnarly. Like I remember everybody just being like, "Well, there's one professor that teaches like the pre-med physics course, and nobody likes him. You're gonna get a bad grade, and you're gonna suffer, and like that is just part of life." And I was like, "Right, gotcha, good. Like, what can I do at this point? Like, what else do y'all got? What else do y'all got? Like, just vote. I know I'm gonna be out, so just vote. Like."
Yeah, I think something I realized is that I actually think physics is quite interesting. I think it's just more so I hate actually doing the physics myself. So I'll watch a lot of physics videos and I'll learn about a lot of different physics concepts, but I don't know if I necessarily want to be the one putting pen to paper. But listen, sometimes that's what college is all about, is figuring out what BS you don't actually want to deal with while getting your BS. Yeah, so with all that said and done, we really hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Definitely check out the description box to look at all of our different sources and references. Let us know if there are any specific topics you guys want us to cover. Once again, we're always trying to go over different STEM topics in a fun, accessible way, and definitely give us feedback if there's different things that you want to hear about in this series. So, with all that said and done, thank you guys for listening, and we'll see y'all in the next one. Bye.
Bye.